Imagine for a moment a world where ancient secrets were carefully concealed by the very institutions that shaped history, where the past is a puzzle with pieces locked away in hidden vaults, and where a group of elite warriors, known as the Knights Templar, possessed knowledge so dangerous that it was erased from the annals of time. What if the most powerful institution in the world, the Vatican, was behind this deliberate act of suppression? For centuries, the truth about the Templars, their rise to power, their mysterious fall, and the treasures they may have hidden, has been clouded in mystery, buried beneath layers of myth, rumor, and outright deception. But what if all of this was orchestrated? What if there is a forgotten truth, a truth so powerful that the Vatican feared its very revelation would challenge the foundations of the world as we know it? This is the question that has captivated historians, conspiracy theorists, and truth seekers alike for centuries. The legend of the Knights Templar is one that fascinates people to this day, a story of knights and crusaders, of men who fought in the name of God, yet who harbored secrets that could change everything. Their sudden disappearance in the early 14th century, their supposed heresy, their alleged connection to the Holy Grail. These are the things that have led to endless speculation. But what is the truth behind their downfall, and what were they really guarding? What knowledge, or perhaps more importantly, what power did the Templars possess that was deemed so dangerous that the Vatican decided to bury it for centuries? As we embark on this journey to uncover the lost truths of the Templars, we find ourselves faced with not just one question, but a multitude of mysteries that have remained largely untouched by mainstream history. Was the Templar Order truly disbanded, or did it go underground, continuing its secretive work in the shadows? Could there be a hidden connection between the Templars and the Vatican that explains their rise and fall? And perhaps most intriguingly, what secrets did the Templars uncover during their time in Jerusalem? Secrets that may still be hidden beneath the vaults of the Vatican today? The story of the Templars is far from a simple tale of medieval knights on horseback, battling in the name of the cross. It is a complex narrative that intertwines religious history, power struggles, hidden artifacts, ancient knowledge, and the cryptic messages left behind by those who sought to protect or conceal these truths. At the heart of this story lies an enigma, the connection between the Vatican, the Templars, and a truth so profound that it was hidden, erased, and buried. But what exactly was this truth? In the 12th century, the Templars were founded as a religious military order with a singular mission: to protect Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land. However, as they grew in power, wealth, and influence, they became much more than just a military order. The Templars began to control vast resources, including financial institutions and secretive holdings. This expansion led to speculation about the true nature of their mission. Were they simply protecting the Christian faith, or was there something more to their activities? Did they discover something in the Holy Land, something so sacred and so dangerous that it posed a threat not just to their enemies, but to the very foundation of Christianity itself? As the Templars grew more powerful, their influence over European politics and economies deepened. They held immense wealth and were seen as an independent power, unbound by the control of any monarch or religious authority. Their power, in many ways, rivaled that of the Church itself. It was at this point that their relationship with the Vatican began to sour. According to some accounts, the Templars' secretive nature and their growing influence caught the attention of Pope Clement V, who, under pressure from the King of France, Philip IV, sought to dismantle the order. In 1307, Philip had the Templars arrested, accused of heresy, and their assets seized. The papacy, by the very nature of its actions, erased the Templars from the history books, condemning them as heretics, yet leaving us with questions that have never been fully answered. But was the Templar Order truly defeated? Or, as some have argued, did they survive in the shadows, their secrets still hidden, their mission far from complete? There are those who believe that the Templars were not destroyed at all. Instead, they went underground, continuing their work in secret, passing their knowledge and their traditions to those who would carry their torch. The idea that the Templars never really disappeared, but rather infiltrated other organizations, has been a topic of speculation for centuries. Some point to the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, and other secret societies as modern-day inheritors of Templar knowledge, suggesting that the order's secret knowledge was preserved and passed down through the ages. One of the most persistent theories surrounding the Templars is their alleged possession of the Holy Grail, the sacred relic believed by many to hold immense power and significance. Was the Grail merely a Christian artifact, or was it a symbol of something far older and far more powerful? The Templars' connection to the Grail and to other hidden relics has been the subject of much intrigue. Some believe that the Templars knew the true nature of the Grail, and that they were entrusted with its protection, not out of devotion to the Christian faith, but because they had uncovered something more profound, something that had the potential to change the course of history itself. This is where the mystery deepens. The Vatican, which has long been seen as the guardian of Christian history, may have had its own reasons for suppressing the truth about the Templars. What if the Vatican was not merely concerned with protecting the Church's power, but was itself involved in a long-standing cover-up to prevent the revelation of knowledge that could shake the very foundations of Christianity? What if the Vatican, in its efforts to protect its own legitimacy, worked tirelessly to erase the Templars from history and bury the secrets they uncovered in the depths of its archives? As we delve deeper into this story, we will examine the evidence, the hidden maps, the secret texts, the mysterious artifacts that suggest the Templars were guardians of a truth far beyond the understanding of their time. We will explore the suppressed history of the Templars, a history that the Vatican has fought to keep buried for centuries. This is not just a tale of medieval knights and treasure. It is the story of a hidden truth, a forbidden knowledge, and the powerful forces that have worked to keep it from being revealed. What was the Vatican so afraid of? What was the secret that the Templars took to their graves? These are the questions that will drive us forward, as we uncover the lost truth of the Templars and their connection to one of history's most enduring mysteries. By the end of this journey, you may find that the truth you thought you knew about the Knights Templar is just the beginning of an even greater revelation, one that will forever change the way we view history, religion, and the very nature of truth itself. The story of the Knights Templar begins in the heart of medieval Europe, at a time when the religious and political landscape was vastly different from what we know today. The year is 1119, and a small group of knights, led by the French nobleman Hugues de Payens, forms a religious military order known as the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon. Their mission: to protect Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land, particularly Jerusalem, a city that held immense spiritual significance for Christians, Jews, and Muslims alike. What began as a modest band of knights would soon evolve into one of the most powerful and influential military and financial orders in history, shaping the course of European politics, religion, and warfare. The rise of the Templars is tied to the era of the Crusades, a series of religious wars initiated by the Catholic Church to reclaim Jerusalem and the Holy Land from Muslim control. The First Crusade, which had ended in 1099 with the capture of Jerusalem, was still fresh in the minds of many European rulers. The Crusaders, mostly drawn from Western Europe, had fought their way through the Levant, but the region remained unstable, with Christian pilgrims often facing danger on their journeys to the holy sites. This instability set the stage for the Templars to emerge as both protectors and spiritual warriors in the name of Christianity. The Templars were not the first order of knights to arise during this period. They followed in the footsteps of other monastic military orders like the Hospitallers and the Teutonic Knights. But what set them apart was their rapid growth and the extraordinary resources they would soon command. Initially, the Templars were a small group with a relatively humble purpose: to ensure the safety of Christian pilgrims traveling through dangerous territories. But over the course of just a few decades, they grew in numbers and influence, gaining the trust of powerful monarchs, popes, and clergy across Europe. One of the key factors in the Templars' rise to prominence was their ability to create a sophisticated and efficient financial system. While the Order's original mission was military in nature, Their success in battle quickly became intertwined with their financial acumen. The Templars began to manage vast estates in Europe and the Holy Land, collecting tithes and donations from the faithful. As their wealth grew, so too did their influence. They established a network of safe houses, fortresses, and castles across Europe and the Levant, creating one of the most impressive logistical and financial networks of the medieval world. By the early 12th century, the Templars had become a force to be reckoned with. Their military prowess was demonstrated in key battles during the Crusades, where they fought valiantly to defend Christian territories in the Holy Land. Their skill on the battlefield earned them the respect and admiration of their peers, but it was their financial operations that set them apart. The Templars became pioneers in the creation of banking practices that would lay the groundwork for modern banking. They offered a secure way for travelers to transfer money across Europe and the Holy Land, issuing letters of credit that could be exchanged for cash at Templar branches in different regions. This innovation made the Templars incredibly wealthy, and as their financial network expanded, so did their power. Despite their growing wealth and influence, the Templars remained a monastic order, bound by vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. They adopted the distinctive white mantles adorned with a red cross, symbolizing their commitment to the Christian faith. Their strict code of conduct, which emphasized discipline, loyalty, and honor, set them apart from other groups of knights. This ascetic lifestyle, coupled with their vast resources, made the Templars appear as both devout religious men and formidable warriors, an image that won them favor with the church, monarchs, and nobility. At the height of their power, the Templars held significant influence over the affairs of Europe. They were granted special privileges by the Vatican, including exemption from paying taxes and the ability to collect tithes directly from the faithful. This status allowed them to accumulate vast amounts of wealth, but also made them a target for envy and suspicion. While many saw the Templars as protectors of the Christian faith, others viewed their wealth and autonomy with distrust. Over time, rumors began to circulate about the true nature of the Templars' activities, fueling suspicions about their motives and allegiances. One of the most enduring aspects of the Templars' rise to power is their connection to the mysteries of the Holy Land. It is widely believed that the Templars uncovered something during their time in Jerusalem that had a profound impact on their order's trajectory. The exact nature of this discovery remains one of the most tantalizing mysteries surrounding the Templars. Some speculate that the Knights uncovered ancient relics, lost scriptures, or even knowledge that could challenge the foundations of Christianity itself. It is said that during their time at the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, where their order took its name, the Templars discovered something that would forever alter their mission. While the exact nature of this discovery remains a subject of speculation, there are several theories that have gained traction over the years. One of the most popular theories is that the Templars discovered a hidden chamber beneath the Temple Mount, where they found ancient texts or artifacts that contained forbidden knowledge. This theory is often linked to the idea that the Templars were the true guardians of the Holy Grail, or that they had uncovered secrets about the early Christian church that had been deliberately suppressed by the Vatican. In this view, the Templars were not just warriors, but keepers of an ancient truth that the church feared would undermine its authority. The Templars' rapid growth and increasing wealth also brought them into conflict with the church. While they had initially enjoyed the support of the Vatican, tensions began to rise as the order's power and independence grew. The Templars' ability to operate outside the control of both kings and popes became a source of friction. Some church leaders began to view the Templars' autonomy as a challenge to the authority of the Vatican. This tension would eventually lead to the order's downfall, as powerful forces within the church and European monarchy conspired to bring the Templars to heel. Despite these mounting tensions, the Templars remained an essential part of the medieval world, influencing the course of history in ways that would have long-lasting consequences. The order's military success, financial expertise, and growing influence across Europe made them a force that could not be easily ignored. However, as the political landscape shifted and the Crusades began to wane, the Templars' influence would soon be tested by forces beyond their control. The rise of the Templars is a story of ambition, faith, and power. What began as a humble group of knights seeking to protect Christian pilgrims soon transformed into one of the most powerful organizations in medieval Europe. Their wealth, military might, and mysterious connections to the Holy Land made them a force to be reckoned with. But as we will see in the coming chapters, this very rise to power would ultimately set the stage for the Templars' dramatic fall, as their secrets and influence were deemed too dangerous to be allowed to continue. As we move forward in our exploration of the Templars' story, we must ask, what was it that they discovered in the Holy Land, and how did it shape their rise? What were the secrets they guarded, and why did they become such a target for those who sought to suppress them? The answers to these questions lie at the heart of the mystery of the Templars, and it is here, at the height of their power, that the true story begins to unfold. The fall of the Knights Templar was as sudden and dramatic as their rise to power. From a modest band of warriors dedicated to protecting Christian pilgrims, the Templars grew into one of the most influential and wealthy military orders in the medieval world. However, the very things that made them powerful, wealth, autonomy, and military prowess, ultimately became the reasons for their downfall. What began as a noble mission quickly turned into a political and religious struggle that would see the Templars betrayed by those they had once trusted and dismantled by the very powers they had once served. The seeds of the Templars' destruction were sown long before the infamous events of 1307. Their meteoric rise to power had created a wealth of enemies, both inside and outside the Church. The Templars were granted immense privileges by the Vatican, which included exemption from certain taxes and direct access to the Pope's protection. This special status allowed them to operate with a degree of independence that made many political and religious leaders uneasy. But their influence did not come without consequences. As the Templars amassed vast riches, they began to rival the power of kings and even the Church itself. The most significant threat to the Templars came not from their external enemies, but from within. King Philip IV of France, a ruler known for his ambition and desire to expand his power, saw the growing wealth and influence of the Templars as a direct challenge to his own authority. The French monarchy, already heavily indebted to the Templars, had grown increasingly resentful of the order's financial dominance. As the Templars' wealth grew, so did their independence, and Philip saw this as a threat to his control over the French crown and his ability to consolidate power in the kingdom. By the early 14th century, Philip had become deeply indebted to the Templars, both financially and politically. The Templars' extensive network of loans and financial operations made them essential to the kingdom's economy, but also left Philip vulnerable to their influence. In the context of an increasingly strained relationship between the monarchy and the Templars, the king found himself in a precarious position. His financial difficulties were only exacerbated by his ambitions to fund costly military campaigns and solidify his control over European territories. With the Templars standing as a powerful institution, independent of the crown's control, Philip's solution was clear: eliminate the order. In 1305, Pope Clement V, under pressure from Philip IV, issued a papal bull that called for the suppression of the Templars. However, it was not until 1307 that Philip took decisive action. On the morning of Friday, October 13th, 1307, one of the most dramatic moments in history unfolded. Philip's soldiers, under orders from the king, raided the homes and strongholds of the Templars across France, arresting members of the order en masse. The knights were accused of heresy, blasphemy, and engaging in immoral and secretive practices. These charges were as scandalous as they were unfounded, and many historians believe they were fabricated to justify the king's actions. The charges leveled against the Templars were nothing short of sensational. They were accused of worshiping false idols, engaging in secret and forbidden rites, and committing acts of sexual immorality. The most shocking accusation was that the Templars had denied Christ, a claim that struck at the heart of the Church's authority and doctrine. These charges, however, were never substantiated, and many of the confessions made by Templar members were extracted under torture. The use of torture to elicit confessions was a common practice during this time, and it is widely believed that many Templars were forced to admit to crimes they had never committed. Once the arrests were made, the Templars were subjected to harsh interrogations and trials. Many were forced to confess to heretical acts, but the Church's involvement in the trials was far from impartial. Pope Clement V, who had previously been sympathetic to the Templars, now found himself under intense pressure from King Philip to endorse the suppression of the order. The trials were conducted with little regard for justice, and the Templars were condemned in a series of show trials that left many wondering whether the accusations had any merit at all. The trial of the Templars culminated in a public spectacle on March 22, 1312, when the Pope officially dissolved the order. The Templars' assets, which had been vast and extensive, were seized by the Crown and the Church. The order, once one of the most powerful military and financial forces in Europe, was effectively dismantled. In an ironic twist, Philip IV, who had orchestrated the destruction of the Templars, also ordered that many of the Templar knights who had confessed to heresy be burned at the stake. The most prominent of these was Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master of the Templar Order, who was executed in 1314. His death marked the final chapter in the Templars' tragic fall from grace. But the destruction of the Templars did not mark the end of their story. For many, their fall was not the end of their influence, but the beginning of a new chapter. The sudden and violent dismantling of the order left many questions unanswered. Why were the Templars targeted in such a dramatic way? What secrets did they possess that made them so dangerous to the power structures of medieval Europe? The answer, for some, lies in the hidden knowledge the Templars are believed to have uncovered during their time in Jerusalem. Many theorists have posited that the Templars discovered something in the Holy Land that posed a threat to both the Church and secular authorities. Whether it was the Holy Grail, ancient scrolls, or forgotten relics, there is a prevailing belief that the Templars were custodians of knowledge that could have upended the foundations of Christianity. This theory is compounded by the fact that the Vatican took extraordinary measures to suppress the Templars, going so far as to erase their existence from history and destroy any trace of their secrets. Despite the Vatican's efforts to obliterate the Templars, there are those who believe that the order survived in some form, slipping into the shadows of history and passing on its secrets to future generations. In the centuries that followed their dissolution, rumors circulated that the Templars had gone underground, continuing to protect and preserve the knowledge they had uncovered. Some suggest that the order became part of the Freemasons, or that it influenced other secret societies and religious movements throughout history. These ideas are compounded by the many conspiracy theories surrounding the Templars, some of which argue that their hidden truths still remain locked away, waiting to be discovered. The fall of the Templars was not just a political and religious event. It was a defining moment in the history of Europe. It marked the end of one of the most powerful and mysterious orders of the Middle Ages and the beginning of a long period of secrecy and intrigue surrounding their legacy. The Templars were not simply a casualty of medieval politics. They were the keepers of a lost history, one that the powers of their time sought to bury. Their fall, then, was not just a loss for the order itself, but a blow to the broader fabric of history, leaving behind a legacy of unanswered questions and tantalizing mysteries that still captivate the imaginations of people today. The Templars' sudden fall from grace left behind not just a trail of betrayal and death, but also one of the most enduring mysteries in history, the lost treasure of the Knights Templar. For centuries, the question of what happened to the Templars' vast wealth has haunted historians, treasure hunters, and conspiracy theorists alike. While the Church and the French monarchy took possession of much of the order's assets, there remains a lingering belief that the Templars did not simply vanish, leaving behind only scraps for their enemies. Some theorists suggest that the Templars concealed a treasure so powerful, so valuable, and so dangerous that its very existence could rewrite the history of the medieval world. Could this treasure still be hidden, awaiting discovery? And what exactly was it? Just gold and riches, or something much more profound? When the Templars were arrested in 1307, it wasn't just their knights who were taken into custody. It was their entire network of castles, estates, and most importantly, their treasures. What is known for certain is that the Templars were extremely wealthy. The Order's control over vast swaths of land and its banking operations made them a key economic force in medieval Europe. It is said that they held treasures of untold value, including gold, relics, and priceless artifacts from their time in the Holy Land. But did they only possess material wealth, or was there something deeper, something tied to their mysterious mission in Jerusalem that was even more valuable? One of the most enduring legends surrounding the Templar treasure is that it was not simply gold, silver, or jewels, but something far more elusive: ancient knowledge. It is believed by some that during their time in Jerusalem, the Templars uncovered sacred relics or ancient manuscripts that contained secrets dating back to the time of Christ, or even to earlier, forgotten civilizations. These secrets, if they exist, would have been powerful enough to threaten the very foundations of the Catholic Church, and perhaps even the course of history itself. But what became of this treasure after the Templars were dismantled? While some of the Order's wealth and assets were seized and dispersed among the Church and King Philip IV, there are countless rumors that suggest the majority of the Templars' most precious items, those relics and manuscripts, were hidden away. Some accounts tell of Templar knights who, before their arrest, managed to smuggle the treasures out of France, fleeing with them to secret locations across Europe and the Mediterranean. This is where the story becomes even more intriguing. The notion that the Templars created a secret map that led to the treasure's final resting place. The existence of such a map is one of the most tantalizing pieces of the Templar legend. According to various historical accounts, the Templars were known to have possessed highly detailed and precise maps of the Holy Land, as well as of the lands they controlled in Europe. Some theorists suggest that, in the years leading up to their fall, the Templars may have created a hidden map, a treasure map, that pointed to the location of their greatest secret. This map, some claim, could lead to a hidden cache of treasures, or more likely, to documents or relics of unimaginable importance. The idea of a secret Templar map gained further credence with the discovery of mysterious symbols and codes associated with the Order. Templar architecture, for instance, is filled with cryptic symbols, many of which are believed to have hidden meanings. From the famous rose window of the Temple Church in London to the Templar castles scattered throughout Europe, there are countless examples of cryptic imagery that has puzzled scholars for centuries. Some researchers believe that these symbols may hold the key to understanding the Templars' hidden treasure, with each symbol representing a specific clue to the location of the secret map. One of the most famous theories about the Templar treasure map involved the idea that the treasure was hidden in a location known only to the highest members of the Order. Rennes-le-Château, a small village in southern France, is frequently cited as a potential hiding place for the Templar treasure. The village is famous for its mysterious church and the peculiar discoveries made by a 19th-century priest, Abbé Berenger Saunière. Some believe that Saunière stumbled upon an ancient secret while restoring the church, and that this secret was somehow linked to the Templars and their hidden treasures. According to this theory, the Templars could have used the village of Rennes-le-Château as a final hiding place for their treasure. The church there is said to be filled with symbols and carvings that point to a deeper, hidden truth. Some researchers believe that Saunière's discoveries are evidence that the treasure map and the treasure itself were concealed in plain sight, awaiting a future generation to uncover them. The theories surrounding Rennes-le-Château and the Templar treasure have become the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and even fictional works, each offering their own interpretation of the clues left behind by the Templars. Another location often mentioned in connection with the Templar treasure is the Chapel of Rosslyn in Scotland. Like Rennes-le-Château, Rosslyn Chapel is filled with enigmatic symbols, carvings, and hidden messages that some believe point to the existence of the lost Templar treasure. Rosslyn Chapel was built in the 15th century, long after the fall of the Templars, but it is speculated that it was constructed by those who inherited the Templar legacy, perhaps even with the knowledge of the hidden treasure and the map that led to it. The connection between the Templars and Rosslyn Chapel is primarily based on the idea that the Templars were deeply involved in the construction of many significant religious structures across Europe, and that the chapel's mysterious symbols and carvings are part of a larger, hidden story. The idea that Rosslyn Chapel is somehow linked to the Templar treasure is largely based on the belief that the Templars passed down their secrets through these sacred sites, ensuring that their knowledge would survive long after the order itself had been dismantled. While theories about hidden Templar treasure and secret maps abound, the evidence supporting these claims remains largely speculative. No physical evidence has ever been found to confirm the existence of a map that leads to the Templar treasure, and much of the speculation is based on circumstantial clues and interpretations of symbols. Nevertheless, the idea of a lost Templar treasure waiting to be discovered has captured the imagination of adventurers, historians, and mystery enthusiasts for generations. The question of what happened to the Templars' treasure remains one of history's most enduring mysteries. Some believe that the treasure is still hidden in one of the many secret locations across Europe, waiting to be uncovered by those who can decipher the cryptic clues left behind by the Order. Others suggest that the treasure may be symbolic, representing not material wealth, but a deeper, esoteric knowledge that the Templars were sworn to protect and that the Church sought to suppress. Whether the Templar treasure is a physical hoard of gold and jewels, or a collection of hidden truths that could alter our understanding of history, its existence remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the medieval world. As we continue to uncover clues and piece together the puzzle of the Templars' lost legacy, the search for their treasure, and the secrets it may hold, continues to captivate and intrigue all those who dare to delve into the shadows of history. The dissolution of the Knights Templar and the subsequent erasure of their existence from the annals of history is one of the most extraordinary and controversial chapters in the history of the Catholic Church. It is a tale marked by betrayal, political maneuvering, and a powerful desire to control not just the Templars, but the very narrative of Christian history itself. While the Templars' fall is often seen as the tragic end of a once mighty order, the role of the Vatican in this event raises profound questions about the extent to which the Church was willing to go to protect its own power, and what truths it sought to suppress in the process. To understand the Vatican's role in the Templars' destruction, we must first consider the context of the 14th century, a time when the papacy was at the height of its political and spiritual power. The Church was not just a religious institution. It was a central pillar of European politics, wielding immense authority over kings, princes, and entire nations. The Pope, as the leader of the Catholic Church, held a level of influence that transcended borders and dynasties. In this environment, the Templars, an independent, wealthy, and powerful order, represented both a source of support for the Church and a potential threat to the Church's supremacy. The Templars were originally granted their status by the Church. Pope Urban II officially recognized the order in 1129, bestowing upon them privileges and protection. Over the course of the next 2 centuries, the Templars grew into an almost autonomous power. They were exempt from certain taxes, answered only to the Pope, and could operate across the borders of Europe and the Levant without interference from local rulers. This freedom allowed the Templars to accumulate vast wealth and influence, including land holdings across Europe, military fortifications in the Holy Land, and financial operations that span the continent. This immense power and autonomy began to attract the jealousy and suspicion of monarchs. But perhaps most significantly, it caused discomfort within the Vatican. The Church's initial relationship with the Templars was one of mutual benefit. The Templars, as fierce warriors of the cross, helped advance the Church's interests in the Crusades. Their military campaigns were seen as a way to protect Christianity from the spread of Islam, and the Templars' success on the battlefield earned them the respect of many. However, as their wealth and influence grew, so did their independence. The Templars were not bound to the same rules that governed the clergy, and they operated outside the direct control of the papacy. This growing independence began to be seen as a potential challenge to the authority of the Pope. In the early 14th century, Pope Clement V found himself in a precarious position. He had been elected as Pope in 1305 after a contentious conclave, and his tenure was marked by political pressures from both the French monarchy and the Templars. King Philip IV of France, deeply indebted to the Templars for loans and financial services, began to view the order's independence as a threat. Philip IV was not only deeply in debt to the Templars, but he also feared their growing influence in Europe. He was determined to regain control over the order's wealth and break their autonomy. But Philip's power over the Templars did not come easily. For that, he would need the support of the Pope. In 1307, King Philip IV devised a plan to eradicate the Templars once and for all. Using the power of the French crown, he orchestrated the arrest of hundreds of Templar knights across France. The charges were heretical in nature. Accusations of idol worship, blasphemy, sexual misconduct, and secret rites. These accusations were not based on any solid evidence, but were largely fabricated, many of them extracted under torture. However, these charges provided the basis for the destruction of the Templar Order. What followed was a calculated move by Philip IV to not only disband the Templars, but to seize their vast wealth and lands. Pope Clement V, while initially hesitant, eventually acceded to Philip's demands. On November 22, 1307, the Pope issued a papal bull, Pastoralis Preeminentia, which authorized the arrest and prosecution of the Templars in all of Christendom. This marked the official beginning of the Vatican's role in the suppression of the order. Though Clement V had once been a supporter of the Templars, political pressures from King Philip IV, coupled with the threat of excommunication or deposition, led the Pope to bend to the will of the French monarchy. The Templars were not just attacked politically, they were also attacked ideologically. The charges leveled against them were designed to paint the order as a subversive, heretical force, one that posed a direct challenge to the authority of the Church. By associating the Templars with heresy, the papacy could justify their dissolution and the confiscation of their wealth. But why did the Vatican go to such lengths to erase the Templars? Was it simply to maintain control over the Church's finances, or was there something deeper at play? There are numerous theories about why the Vatican sought to destroy the Templars. Some historians argue that it was motivated by economic concerns. The Templars were simply too powerful and wealthy, and their financial operations were seen as a rival to the Church's own financial dominance. Others suggest that the Templars' growing autonomy and influence posed a challenge to the papacy's spiritual authority. But there are darker theories that suggest the Vatican had a more insidious reason for wanting the Templars eliminated: the fear of suppressed knowledge. Many conspiracy theorists believe that the Templars possessed knowledge that threatened the core tenets of Christianity. During their time in Jerusalem, the Templars were rumored to have uncovered ancient relics, manuscripts, or teachings that contradicted the traditional Christian narrative. These could have included texts about the life of Christ, lost gospels, or esoteric knowledge about the nature of divinity. If such knowledge existed, it could have radically altered the way the Church understood its own doctrines. The Vatican, in this view, would have seen the Templars' secrets as dangerous, a potential catalyst for a religious revolution. In this sense, the destruction of the Templars can be seen as an attempt by the papacy to suppress knowledge that could undermine the Church's power and authority. In the aftermath of the Templars' dissolution, the Vatican worked tirelessly to erase all traces of the order's existence. The papacy not only declared the Templars heretical, but also sought to discredit them entirely. Books were burned, documents were destroyed, and the order's symbols were systematically erased from churches and manuscripts. The Vatican also ensured that no further inquiries into the true nature of the Templars or their knowledge would be conducted. By silencing the order and eliminating any records of their existence, the Vatican hoped to bury the Templars' legacy for good. Despite the Vatican's best efforts, however, the Templars' legend lived on. In the centuries that followed, rumors continued to swirl about the true nature of the order. Some believed the Templars had discovered the Holy Grail or other sacred relics. Others suggested that the order had passed on its knowledge to secret societies such as the Freemasons. The suppression of the Templars only served to fuel speculation about the hidden truths they possessed, truths that the Vatican had fought so hard to suppress. The Vatican's role in the erasure of the Templars serves as a stark reminder of the lengths to which institutions will go to protect their power. The Templars were not merely destroyed for their wealth. They were destroyed because they represented a threat to the religious and political order of the time. The Church, in its efforts to maintain its control over the spiritual and temporal realms, was willing to eliminate a powerful order and suppress the secrets it may have uncovered. In doing so, the Vatican not only erased the Templars from history, but also left behind a legacy of hidden knowledge, one that continues to intrigue and captivate those who seek to uncover the mysteries of the past. The Knights Templar may have been formally dissolved by the papacy in the early 14th century, but their legacy did not end with their arrest and execution. Instead, the Templars' influence and symbolism would endure, quietly passed on through various secret societies and clandestine organizations that rose in the centuries following their destruction. The idea that the Templars survived, hidden from history, and became a significant force behind the emergence of modern secret societies is one of the most compelling and controversial theories surrounding the order. Could the Templars have gone underground, continuing their mission in secret, or was their legacy simply absorbed into the world of secret societies, like the Freemasons, and carried forward into the modern era? The notion of a secret Templar legacy is not a new one. From the moment the order was destroyed, rumors began to circulate about the possibility that the Templars had not been completely eradicated. Some suggested that high-ranking Templars, knowing their fate, had escaped the clutches of the French crown and fled to distant lands, carrying with them sacred relics and hidden knowledge. The idea that the Templars formed secret networks to preserve their influence and protect their treasures became one of the most enduring elements of Templar lore. And, over time, many secret societies began to emerge, incorporating symbols, rituals, and even names that seemed eerily connected to the Templars. The most famous of these secret societies, and perhaps the one most closely linked to the Templars, is the Freemasons. While the exact origins of the Freemasons remain unclear, many believe that the order was influenced or even founded by those who were once part of the Templar network. The Freemasons, like the Templars, are known for their elaborate rituals, complex symbolism, and their commitment to secrecy. Their use of the square and compass, two tools associated with stonemasonry, is widely recognized, but they also employ other symbols that some believe trace back to the Templars. These include the mysterious all-seeing eye, the skull and crossbones, and the letter G, which some claim represents God or geometry, a possible reference to the ancient knowledge the Templars are said to have guarded. One of the most intriguing connections between the Templars and Freemasonry is the idea that the Templars' esoteric knowledge was preserved within the rituals and teachings of the Freemasons. The Templars were believed to have uncovered ancient truths during their time in the Holy Land, knowledge that might challenge conventional Christian doctrine and reveal hidden aspects of human history. Could these secrets have been passed on to Freemasons in the centuries following the Templars' downfall? Many believe this to be the case. Some have suggested that the Freemasons, inheriting the Templar tradition, became the guardians of the Templars' most valuable secrets, including the location of hidden treasures or sacred artifacts. The notion of a Templar-Freemason connection was bolstered during the 18th century, when Freemasonry experienced a resurgence in Europe. During this period, many high-ranking Freemasons, such as the famous American Founding Fathers, were thought to have been influenced by Templar ideas. Figures like George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and Thomas Jefferson were all Freemasons, and they're often depicted as symbols of the American Revolution and the birth of a new era. The connections between Freemasonry and the American founding have led some to speculate that the Templars, or at least their ideas, played a significant role in shaping the political and ideological foundations of the United States. Some believe that the Templars' principles of liberty, independence, and secrecy were passed down through Masonic lodges and became central to the creation of the new nation. In addition to Freemasonry, other secret societies are thought to have been influenced by Templar ideas. The Rosicrucians, for example, are an esoteric group whose origins can be traced back to the early 17th century. They are known for their mystical and alchemical teachings, which some believe are connected to the secret knowledge the Templars are said to have discovered in the Holy Land. The Rosicrucians, like the Templars, claim to possess ancient wisdom that could lead to spiritual enlightenment and the unlocking of hidden truths. This association between the Templars and Rosicrucians has led to the theory that the Templars were instrumental in the formation of this esoteric tradition, passing on their knowledge to a new generation of seekers. The connection between the Templars and secret societies is not just a matter of symbolism or ideology. It extends into the realm of historical evidence, albeit circumstantial. Throughout history, there have been numerous reports of Templar symbols and imagery appearing in the rituals and regalia of secret societies. For example, the use of the Red Cross, a hallmark of the Templar Order, can be found in the insignia of various Masonic lodges. Similarly, Templar-like architectural motifs have been identified in the designs of Masonic temples and other esoteric buildings. While these connections are often dismissed as coincidental or speculative, they continue to fuel the idea that the Templars left behind a hidden legacy that was carried on by secret societies. One of the most famous examples of this alleged Templar legacy can be found in the story of Rennes-le-Château, a small village in southern France. In the late 19th century, a French priest named Abbé Bérenger Saunière made a series of unusual discoveries while restoring the local church. These discoveries, which included hidden manuscripts, strange symbols, and cryptic messages, led some to believe that Saunière had uncovered a secret connected to the Templars. Theories about Rennes-le-Château often posit that Saunière had stumbled upon knowledge passed down from the Templars, and that the village is a key location in the mystery of their lost treasure. The connection between Rennes-le-Château and the Templars is still the subject of intense speculation, with many pointing to the village as a possible center of Templar activity and as a place where their secrets have been hidden for centuries. The Templars' association with secret societies and hidden knowledge has also been explored in modern conspiracy theories. Some believe that the Templars were the true guardians of the Holy Grail, and that the Grail's location was passed down through generations of secretive organizations. Others suggest that the Templars were involved in a vast, global conspiracy to preserve ancient knowledge that could radically alter our understanding of history, religion, and even science. While there is no concrete evidence to support these claims, the allure of hidden knowledge and the idea of a shadowy Templar influence in modern society continues to captivate the imaginations of many. In the end, the Templars' legacy in secret societies is a complex and multifaceted subject. Whether they consciously passed down their knowledge or whether their influence was absorbed into the broader fabric of secret traditions, there is no doubt that their impact on the world of esotericism and mysticism has been profound. The Templar story, filled with mystery, intrigue, and secrecy, is far from over. From Freemasonry to Rosicrucianism, from Rennes-le-Château to modern conspiracy theories, the Templar shadow continues to loom large over the secret societies of today. And as the search for the hidden truths of their past persists, it seems likely that the Templars will remain an enduring symbol of mystery, power, and secrecy for generations to come. The quest for the lost secrets of the Knights Templar has captivated adventurers, historians, treasure hunters, and conspiracy theorists for centuries. The mystery surrounding what the Templars may have hidden, whether it be gold, ancient texts, or other powerful artifacts, remains one of the most enduring enigmas in the world. Though the order was dissolved by the Catholic Church in 1312, and many of its members were executed or disappeared, the search for the Templars' lost knowledge has continued unabated. But what were these secrets, and why have they generated so much intrigue? The idea of hidden knowledge is integral to the Templar legend. In the years leading up to their downfall, the Templars were believed to have had access to ancient wisdom, possibly derived from their time in the Holy Land during the Crusades. It is widely believed that the Templars uncovered relics and documents during their expeditions, some of which may have held esoteric or forbidden knowledge. This could have included early Christian texts, lost gospels, and sacred artifacts that, if revealed, could challenge the traditional narrative of Christianity. Many theories posit that the Templars discovered these relics during their time in Jerusalem, perhaps even something as significant as the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, or ancient manuscripts that contain teachings that the Church might have wanted to keep hidden. The idea that the Templars found powerful or dangerous knowledge, which they then sought to protect, has sparked a massive search that continues to this day. Historians and amateur treasure hunters have pored over documents, ancient maps, and religious texts, hoping to uncover clues to the location of the Templars' hidden treasure or their lost artifacts. But the search is far from straightforward. The Templars were not the type of order to leave their secrets out in the open. If they did uncover such powerful knowledge, it is believed that they hid it away, using a combination of cryptic symbols, secret codes, and perhaps even hidden locations across Europe to protect it. One of the most popular theories surrounding the Templar secrets is the idea that they concealed their treasure and knowledge in a series of well-guarded locations. These places, often referred to as Templar sites, are spread across Europe and the Mediterranean, and many of them are shrouded in mystery. Some of the most famous of these locations include Rennes-le-Château in France, Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, and the Isle of Skye in Scotland, as well as various locations in Portugal and Spain. Rennes-le-Château, in particular, has become a focal point for those seeking the Templar secrets. The village in southern France is home to a church that was restored in the 19th century by a priest named Abbé Berenger Saunière. Saunière's work at the church included the discovery of hidden parchments, strange symbols, and mysterious carvings, all of which led some to speculate that the priest had stumbled upon knowledge passed down by the Templars. The village itself is filled with clues that some believe point to a hidden treasure or lost artifact, possibly the Holy Grail or ancient manuscripts with esoteric teachings. According to these theories, Saunière discovered these secrets while restoring the church and spent the rest of his life trying to protect them, all while living beyond his means and amassing a fortune. But Rennes-le-Château is not the only location that has been linked to the Templars. Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, with its cryptic carvings and strange architecture, has long been associated with the order. The chapel's intricate stonework features numerous Templar symbols, including the Templar cross, the rose, and the fleur-de-lis. Some believe that Rosslyn Chapel was either built or heavily influenced by Templar initiates, and that it contains hidden clues to the location of the Templars' treasure or sacred knowledge. The chapel's vaults and underground spaces are said to contain secret compartments that may have once housed the Templars' most valuable artifacts. To this day, enthusiasts continue to search for hidden messages within the chapel's design, hoping to unlock the secrets it may contain. In addition to these locations, there are also theories that the Templars hid their knowledge in places far beyond Europe. Some researchers suggest that the Templars may have traveled to the New World before Columbus and buried their treasure in what is now North America. A theory known as the Templar treasure in the New World suggests that the Templars sailed across the Atlantic possibly as early as the 12th century and hid their treasure in what is now Canada or the United States. The idea is that the Templars could have established secret outposts in the New World and concealed their most prized possessions in remote areas. Other locations linked to the Templars include the various castles, fortresses, and chapels that they built during their time in the Holy Land. Some historians argue that the Templars may have hidden sacred objects or powerful knowledge in these locations before they were driven out of the Levant. Some of these sites, particularly in modern-day Israel and Syria, remain highly enigmatic and are often the subject of intense exploration. The search for the Templars' lost secrets is not just about treasure hunts and historical curiosity. The quest to uncover the Templars' knowledge has profound religious and philosophical implications. Theories abound that the Templars held knowledge that could challenge the foundation of Christianity. For example, some believe that the Templars uncovered early Christian texts that were excluded from the Bible, such as the Gospel of Thomas or the Gospel of Mary. These apocryphal texts, some of which present radically different views on Jesus and his teachings, could have shaken the Church's teachings to their core. If the Templars were indeed custodians of such knowledge, it is easy to see why the Vatican would have been so determined to erase them from history. Moreover, some speculate that the Templars were privy to a secret, ancient spiritual wisdom, possibly connected to Gnosticism, alchemy, or other esoteric traditions, that was considered too dangerous for public consumption. This knowledge, passed down through secret initiations and preserved in hidden texts, is thought to have contained teachings on the nature of divinity, the soul, and the universe. If such knowledge were ever brought to light, it could radically alter our understanding of religion, philosophy, and the very fabric of existence. Despite the many tantalizing theories, the search for the Templars' lost secrets is an arduous one. The clues are few, the locations are often inaccessible, and the evidence is fragmented and speculative. Yet, the allure of discovering something hidden by one of the most powerful and enigmatic organizations in history continues to draw people from all walks of life. Treasure hunters, historians, and even ordinary citizens continue to comb through ancient documents, examine old maps, and explore ruins, hoping to stumble upon the key that will unlock the mysteries of the Templars. Some of the searchers have had some success. There have been claims of discovering hidden documents, cryptic messages, and strange artifacts that may or may not be linked to the Templars. These discoveries, while intriguing, have yet to provide definitive answers, and many questions remain unanswered. But the search, much like the Templar legend itself, endures. What is it about the Templars that keeps the world searching? Perhaps it is the tantalizing promise of lost knowledge, or the sense that there is something much larger than ourselves hidden in the past. Or perhaps it is the idea that the Templars, whether as a historical organization or as a symbol, represent a deeper truth, one that is just beyond our grasp. Whatever the reason, the search for the Templars' lost secrets continues to be one of the most enduring mysteries in history, and it seems certain that, like the Templars themselves, it will never be fully uncovered. Throughout history, the symbols and codes associated with the Knights Templar have been a subject of fascination, not just for scholars and historians, but for conspiracy theorists, occultists, and treasure hunters. These mysterious marks, carvings, and encrypted messages left behind by the Templars seem to serve as more than just decorative motifs. They appear to be part of a larger, hidden system of communication, one that may contain secrets about the Order's beliefs, knowledge, and possibly the location of lost treasures or sacred artifacts. The Templars' use of symbols, codes, and cryptography is central to the mystery surrounding their disappearance and their connection to secret societies and esoteric knowledge. The Templars were, after all, not only warriors but also religious men, and like many medieval orders, they were deeply involved in the religious and spiritual practices of their time. Their sacred mission, protecting Christian pilgrims in the Holy Land, was not just about warfare, but also about safeguarding the secrets of the Christian faith, as well as any ancient knowledge they may have encountered during their time in the Levant. This dual role of warrior and spiritual seeker would influence the symbols they chose to represent their order. Some of these symbols, which have been studied and debated for centuries, continue to be seen as crucial to unlocking the mysteries surrounding the Templars. Perhaps the most iconic Templar symbol is the red cross, worn on the tunics of every Templar knight. The cross, a familiar emblem of Christianity, is given additional significance in the context of the Templars, especially since it was distinct in its design, being a simple red cross placed against a white background. The cross itself was, of course, a symbol of Christ's sacrifice, but the Templars' use of it was far more complex. Some scholars argue that the red cross represented the Templars' spiritual mission to protect Christianity, while others suggest that it had deeper, more esoteric meanings, possibly linked to the ancient cross of the Knights of St. John, or even older symbols tied to the mysteries of Egypt or the ancient world. Beyond the cross, the Templars also employed a range of other symbols that carried unique meanings. One of the most prominent is the Templar seal, which often depicted two knights riding on a single horse. This image is thought to symbolize the Templars' vow of poverty, as well as their mutual dependence on one another as brothers in arms. The image of two knights on one horse can also be interpreted as a reference to the idea of duality, light and dark, good and evil, or perhaps the merging of spiritual and martial elements. Some suggest that this seal was more than just an emblem of brotherhood. It was a coded message, signaling the Templars' understanding of the importance of balance and unity, even in the face of their violent mission. The Templars' seals, coats of arms, and other heraldic symbols were meticulously designed, often incorporating geometric shapes and references to sacred geometry, which was of great significance to many medieval orders. The use of geometric patterns, such as circles, triangles, and squares, was central to the Templar Order's visual identity and belief system. These shapes were not just decorative. They were believed to represent divine proportions, as well as the fundamental principles of the universe itself. This was a direct reflection of the Templars' spiritual journey. They were not merely warriors, but seekers of deeper, metaphysical truths. Many of their symbols can be traced to ancient esoteric traditions, such as the Pythagoreans, the Hermeticists, and even the early Gnostics, all of whom viewed geometry and mathematics as a key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe. One of the most mysterious and intriguing Templar symbols is the eye. The all-seeing eye is often associated with Freemasonry, but its origins are believed by many to date back to the Templars. The eye represents spiritual insight, wisdom, and divine observation, an all-knowing, ever-watchful presence that sees all things, even those hidden from view. Some researchers have pointed to the use of the all-seeing eye in Templar art, suggesting that it symbolized their connection to a higher power, perhaps even a secret knowledge that was available only to those initiated into the mysteries of the order. The Templars' use of such symbols indicates that they were involved not only in the protection of material wealth and Christian pilgrims, but also in the guarding of esoteric wisdom. In addition to the symbolic language embedded in their coats of arms and seals, the Templars are also believed to have employed complex codes and ciphers to communicate secretly. Some historians argue that the Templars, as an order that operated across multiple nations and cultures, needed a way to transmit sensitive information securely. This is where the idea of Templar cryptography comes into play. It's thought that the Templars used a form of coded language, a cipher, or even a system of symbols that only the initiated could understand. These codes would have allowed them to share information about their movements, their secrets, or their discoveries without fear of interception. One famous example of Templar coding comes from mysterious inscriptions found in the ruins of Templar buildings, particularly in the Temple Church in London and the Chapel of Rosslyn in Scotland. The carvings and engravings found in these locations are filled with symbols, letters, and numbers that many believe hold hidden messages. For instance, at Rosslyn Chapel, there are numerous cryptic inscriptions that some believe are direct references to the Templars' quest for the Holy Grail or other lost artifacts. Scholars and researchers have spent years analyzing these inscriptions, attempting to decode their meanings. Some of the symbols resemble early forms of alchemical signs or astrological symbols, both of which were important to the Templars and their esoteric beliefs. Another fascinating aspect of Templar symbols and codes is their use in architecture. The Templars were skilled builders, and many of their fortresses, castles, and churches were designed with specific symbolic meanings in mind. The layout of certain Templar buildings is thought to mirror sacred geometrical principles, such as the proportions found in the design of the pyramids or the structures of ancient temples. The placement of windows, doors, and staircases, as well as the orientation of the buildings themselves, often reflected a deeper, hidden knowledge that the Templars possessed. The idea was that the very structure of these buildings could act as a physical manifestation of their spiritual beliefs, serving as both a protective fortress and a conduit for divine energy or enlightenment. The Templars' use of symbols and codes was not limited to their architecture or artwork. There are also stories of secret scrolls, manuscripts, and books that were said to contain Templar knowledge encoded in a system of cryptic symbols. One of the most enduring and mysterious examples of this is the so-called Temple Scroll, a document that some believe contains a hidden map or instructions to the location of the Templars' treasure or the Holy Grail. The Temple Scroll has never been found, but its legend persists in the folklore surrounding the Templars and their alleged hidden knowledge. It is believed by some that the scroll was encoded with a combination of geometric symbols, religious codes, and astronomical references, all of which were intended to point the way to the treasure or secrets the Templars protected. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Templar symbols and codes is their role in the larger narrative of lost knowledge. For centuries, the symbols used by the Templars have been interpreted in various ways, depending on the cultural, religious, or philosophical perspective of the interpreter. Some see the symbols as evidence of the Templars' involvement in early Christian mysticism, while others suggest that they are part of a much older tradition of esoteric wisdom, passed down through the ages and carefully hidden from the public eye. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is clear. The symbols and codes associated with the Templars remain an essential part of the puzzle that surrounds their history, their mission, and their ultimate fate. The Holy Grail, one of the most legendary and elusive artifacts in history, has long been associated with the Knights Templar. The Grail, often depicted as the cup from which Christ drank during the Last Supper, has been the subject of myths, legends, and countless quests over the centuries. But what if the Grail was more than just a sacred relic? What if it was the key to an even deeper mystery, one that the Templars themselves were intimately connected to? The idea that the Knights Templar not only knew of the Grail's existence, but were the true protectors of its secrets, is a fascinating and controversial theory that has captivated historians, religious scholars, and conspiracy theorists alike. Was the Grail simply a symbol of divine truth, or could it represent something far more profound, something that the Templars themselves sought to uncover and protect? The origins of the Grail legend date back to medieval Europe, where it emerged in the context of the Arthurian legends. In these tales, the Grail is often portrayed as a sacred vessel with miraculous powers, capable of healing the sick, granting eternal life, or providing the ultimate spiritual enlightenment. Over time, however, the Grail became intertwined with the Knights Templar, whose quest for spiritual knowledge and military dominance during the Crusades created a narrative ripe for mystery and intrigue. According to many theories, the Templars' relationship with the Holy Grail began during their time in the Holy Land, particularly in Jerusalem, where the order was based in the early years of its formation. The Templars were entrusted with the protection of Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy City, and they established their headquarters on the Temple Mount, the site of the biblical Solomon's Temple. But the Temple Mount, with its rich history and deep religious significance, also harbored secrets of its own. Some believe that the Templars discovered these secrets during their excavations beneath the Temple Mount, where they're said to have uncovered relics or ancient manuscripts, possibly even the Grail itself. The idea that the Templars found the Grail, or something closely related to it, while in Jerusalem has been a central element of the Grail Templar connection. The Temple Mount, which had been the location of King Solomon's Temple, was seen by many medieval Christians as the holiest site in Jerusalem, and some believe that the Grail itself had been hidden there, waiting to be rediscovered. The Templars, with their unique access to the site and their reputation for spiritual devotion, were ideally positioned to uncover such a sacred relic. In this scenario, the Grail could be more than just a physical artifact. It could represent a deeper, more esoteric truth, one that the Templars were sworn to protect and preserve. One of the most enduring theories about the Templars and the Grail is that the Knights discovered not a cup, but a powerful secret tied to the Grail's true meaning. According to some interpretations, the Grail was not merely an object, but a symbol of hidden knowledge. Knowledge about the true nature of Christ, the origins of Christianity, or even the lost teachings of early Christian sects that were later suppressed by the Roman Catholic Church. This theory posits that the Templars' mission was not just to safeguard Christian relics, but to protect ancient truths that could challenge the orthodox teachings of the Church. In this context, the Templars' role as the custodians of the Grail becomes far more significant. They were not just warriors defending the Christian faith. They were protectors of secret knowledge that could potentially upend the foundations of Christianity itself. This hidden knowledge, some suggest, could have included texts or teachings about Christ's life that contradicted the traditional narrative of the Gospels. These teachings may have been passed down through early Christian groups like the Gnostics, who held alternative views of Christ's divinity and humanity, as well as the role of women in early Christianity. The idea that the Templars might have uncovered such knowledge and sought to preserve it has led many to speculate that their connection to the Grail was not just about a physical artifact, but about preserving an ancient wisdom that had been hidden from the world for centuries. The most famous and perhaps most influential account of the Templars' connection to the Holy Grail comes from the story of the Da Vinci Code, a fictional account that blends historical facts with conspiracy theories. In the novel, the protagonist uncovers a secret society, the Priory of Chaon, which is said to be the true guardian of the Grail and its mysteries. The book suggests that the Templars were aware of the Grail's true nature, that it was not simply a cup, but a living, divine bloodline, the descendants of Jesus Christ himself. According to this theory, the Templars were tasked with safeguarding this bloodline, which was believed to have been hidden away and kept secret by the Church. The idea that the Grail represented a bloodline has since become a popular theory, one that suggests that Jesus did not die childless, and that his descendants were secretly protected by the Templars and other secret societies. This theory has been widely debated and criticized, both by scholars and by the Church, but has nevertheless fueled the idea that the Templars' connection to the Grail was much more than a physical relic. If the Templars truly believed that the Grail represented a divine bloodline, this would explain their dedication to preserving the Grail's secrets. The bloodline theory also ties into the broader concept of hidden knowledge and the suppression of alternative religious beliefs, a theme that runs through much of Templar lore. The Templars, by this account, were not simply protecting an object of Christian veneration. They were safeguarding a revolutionary truth that had the power to shake the very foundations of the Church. Aside from the more sensationalized theories, there is also a more grounded view of the Templars' connection to the Holy Grail. Some historians and scholars suggest that the Templars' interest in the Grail was tied to the medieval obsession with relics and sacred objects. The Grail was seen as the ultimate Christian relic, the vessel that contained the blood of Christ, and for the Templars, its preservation could have been seen as part of their sacred duty. However, even in this more traditional view, the Templars' commitment to the Grail and its protection can be seen as part of a larger spiritual and mystical journey. The Grail was not just an object of veneration, but a symbol of the divine, a representation of God's will on earth. The Templars, as both knights and monks, would have viewed their mission to protect such a relic as part of their broader spiritual quest. Another fascinating aspect of the Templars' relationship with the Grail involves the myths and stories that arose around the Grail during the period of the Crusades. The Grail had become a central motif in the Arthurian legends, and many of the knights who participated in the Crusades were influenced by these tales. The stories of King Arthur, the Knights of the Round Table, and the quest for the Grail were a reflection of the medieval ideal of chivalry, with its combination of martial prowess, spiritual devotion, and moral integrity. For many crusaders, the Grail was a symbol of the highest ideals of knighthood, and the quest for it was both a literal and symbolic journey toward divine understanding and enlightenment. The Templars, with their commitment to both military and spiritual pursuits, would have been deeply familiar with these ideals. Their own quest for the Holy Grail, whether as a physical artifact or as a symbol of spiritual enlightenment, can be seen as part of the broader chivalry tradition that defined their order. In this way, the Grail became more than just a relic of the past. It became a symbol of the Templars' quest for a deeper understanding of God's will, one that transcended the material world and pointed toward a higher, divine truth. The relationship between the Templars and the Holy Grail is one of the most enduring mysteries of medieval history. Whether the Templars discovered a physical artifact, whether they uncovered secret knowledge, or whether the Grail was merely a symbol of something greater, The idea that the Templars were the true guardians of this sacred relic adds a layer of mystique to their already enigmatic legacy. The Grail, as both an object and a symbol, represents the very essence of the Templars' mission, a mission that was as much about spiritual enlightenment as it was about earthly power. As the quest for the Grail continues to captivate the imagination of people today, the Templars remain at the heart of this legendary pursuit, standing as both protectors and seekers of one of the greatest mysteries in human history. The dramatic fall of the Knights Templar is one of the most iconic and tragic moments in medieval history. What began as one of the most powerful and revered military orders of the Crusades ended in scandal, betrayal, and mass execution. The Templars, once seen as the protectors of Christendom and the Holy Land, were suddenly persecuted by the very institution they had sworn to defend, the Catholic Church. This sudden shift in their fate has been the subject of historical debate for centuries, and questions still remain about the true reasons behind their downfall. Was it the result of political maneuvering, financial greed, or a deeper conflict within the Church itself? The Knights Templar were founded in the early 12th century, ostensibly to protect Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land during the Crusades. Over the next 2 centuries, the order grew rapidly, establishing a network of fortresses, banking operations, and immense wealth. Their reputation as formidable warriors and skilled administrators made them invaluable allies to both the Church and European monarchs. They became known for their military prowess and their strict code of conduct, which combined religious devotion with martial discipline. Yet, despite their many contributions to the Crusades, the Templars' close relationship with the Church did not protect them from the forces of jealousy, greed, and political ambition that ultimately led to their downfall. The turning point for the Templars came in the early 14th century, when King Philip IV of France began to see the order as a threat to his own power. Philip was deeply indebted to the Templars, having borrowed large sums of money to fund his wars and political ambitions. At the same time, the Templars' wealth and influence were growing rapidly, and this did not sit well with the French king. The order's financial independence, their vast land holdings, and their close connections to the Church made them an important political force, one that Philip saw as a potential rival. This growing tension would become the catalyst for the Templars' destruction. On Friday, October 13th, 1307, Philip IV ordered the arrest of all Templar knights in France. The charge was heresy, but the accusations were broad and vague. The knights were accused of secretly worshipping idols, engaging in forbidden rituals, and committing immoral acts within the confines of their order. These charges were not only shocking, but also deeply damaging to the Templars' reputation, as they were made by the very monarchs and religious authorities that had once been their allies. The Templars were arrested in a coordinated strike across the country, and their leaders were tortured into confessions that would seal their fate. The charges of heresy and blasphemy were largely fabricated, and many historians believe they were a pretext for what was truly a politically motivated persecution. The Templars were seen as a powerful organization that had amassed considerable wealth and influence, and Philip IV's motives were likely as much about consolidating power and seizing that wealth as they were about any legitimate religious concerns. In this sense, the Templars' persecution can be seen as an early example of how political and religious forces often intertwine to suppress threats to the established order. Under torture, several high-ranking Templar leaders were coerced into confessing to charges of heresy, witchcraft, and even sodomy. These confessions were then used to justify the Templars' public trial and execution. The most prominent of these leaders was Jacques de Molay, the Grand Master of the Templars, who was arrested and taken to Paris, where he was forced to confess to a number of charges. Despite his initial recantation of the confessions he had made under duress, de Molay was ultimately sentenced to death by burning at the stake. His execution, along with the public display of other Templar leaders' confessions, marked the end of the order as a functioning military force. However, the persecution of the Templars did not stop in France. Pope Clement V, who was heavily influenced by King Philip, reluctantly issued a papal bull in 1307 that formally condemned the Templar order. The Pope's actions were also motivated by political pressure, as he was caught between the powerful monarchs of Europe and the Church's long-standing relationship with the Templars. Clement V's decision to disband the order, combined with his reluctance to intervene in Philip's plans, marked a critical moment in the history of the Templars. The disbandment of the Knights Templar was formalized in 1312 with the papal bull Vox in Excelso, which declared that the order was officially dissolved. The wealth of the Templars was seized by the Church, but Philip IV had his own agenda. He took control of much of the Templars' wealth in France, thereby eliminating a significant political and financial rival. This episode, known as the Great Dissolution, was devastating for the Templars. Their assets were confiscated, their lands were redistributed, and their members were either executed or absorbed into other religious orders. Yet, the legacy of the Templars did not die with their formal dissolution. Many historians believe that the Templars may have gone underground, preserving their knowledge, their wealth, and their influence in secret. The persecution of the Templars by the Church and King Philip IV, rather than destroying them, may have actually set the stage for the emergence of their secrets and symbols in later secret societies. The Freemasons, in particular, are often cited as one of the groups that inherited the Templar legacy, continuing the order's rituals and esoteric teachings in a clandestine manner. The Templars' persecution is not just a story of political betrayal and the abuse of power. It is also a tale of the dangers of concentrated wealth and influence, especially when it threatens the established hierarchy. The Templars had become too powerful, too wealthy, and too independent for both the French monarchy and the Church to tolerate. Their very existence had become a challenge to the status quo. In the end, the Templars' fate serves as a stark reminder of the precariousness of power and the lengths to which those in authority will go to protect their interests, even if it means betraying their former allies. The trial of the Templars is also a poignant example of the ways in which the medieval Church used its authority to control and manipulate religious and political narratives. The accusations leveled against the Templars, heretical worship, idolization, and sexual immorality, were not new or unique to the order. These were common accusations used to discredit and demonize groups that the Church viewed as threats, whether they were heretics, witches, or political rivals. By using religious charges to justify political persecution, the Church was able to rally public support for the execution of the Templars and maintain its dominance in the medieval world. The persecution of the Knights Templar also raises important questions about the intersection of religion, politics, and power. How much of the Templars' fall was truly about heresy, and how much was driven by the need to eliminate a political rival? Was their wealth and influence a direct threat to the Church, or did they merely represent a convenient scapegoat for a larger political struggle? And perhaps most importantly, what does their story tell us about the nature of secrecy, loyalty, and power in medieval Europe? While the Templars were officially disbanded, their mythos only grew stronger. Their persecution at the hands of the Church and the French king created an aura of martyrdom and mystery around their legacy. The trials and executions of the Templar Knights became the subject of countless legends, which depicted them as heroic figures who had been wronged by the very institutions they had once served. These myths, combined with their secretive rituals, their cryptic symbols, and their alleged hidden treasures, helped fuel the enduring fascination with the Templars that persists to this day. In the centuries following their downfall, the Templars were often romanticized and idealized as victims of political and religious oppression. Their martyrdom became a symbol of the dangers faced by those who dare to challenge established power structures. For many, the story of the Templars is not just one of betrayal and persecution, but also one of the enduring power of secrecy and the resilience of those who are committed to protecting knowledge, even at great personal cost. Despite their official dissolution in the 14th century, the Knights Templars' legacy has endured through the centuries, evolving into one of the most fascinating and enduring subjects in modern conspiracy theories. The dramatic downfall of the Templars their secrecy, and the mysterious nature of their activities have spawned countless theories, speculations, and myths. The narrative surrounding the Templars is so rich and complex that it has transcended history and entered the realm of modern mystery, intrigue, and, of course, conspiracy. One of the most compelling aspects of the Templar legacy is the belief that, even after their official disbandment in 1312, the Templars somehow survived. This theory posits that the order went underground, continuing its operations in secret, protecting its wealth, knowledge, and influence away from the prying eyes of the Church and secular authorities. According to these theories, the Templars did not simply vanish. They adapted and infiltrated other organizations, laying the groundwork for the formation of modern secret societies, most notably the Freemasons. The Freemasons, an influential fraternal organization with roots that trace back to medieval Europe, are often cited as the spiritual and ideological descendants of the Templars. The idea that the Templars passed on their rituals, symbols, and secret knowledge to the Freemasons has fueled an entire genre of conspiracy theories. According to this narrative, the Templars, having amassed significant wealth, influence, and sacred knowledge during their time in the Holy Land, were in possession of secrets that the Church sought to suppress. To protect these secrets, they allegedly passed their teachings down through generations, using the Freemasons as a cover for their clandestine activities. The connections between the Templars and Freemasonry are based on more than just speculation. Both organizations share similar symbols, such as the square and compass, which have been associated with the Templars, and both organizations have rituals that are steeped in allegorical teachings. The notion that the Templars secretly survived by becoming Freemasons is perhaps most famously explored in the best-selling novel The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, which suggests that the Templars did not merely protect physical relics like the Holy Grail, but rather preserved and guarded ancient knowledge that could challenge the foundations of Christianity. The Templars' supposed role as guardians of this forbidden knowledge is a central theme in the popular imagination, and the Freemasons, according to this theory, have continued that legacy in secret. Another widely discussed theory is the idea that the Templars were in possession of the Holy Grail, and that they hid this sacred relic to protect it from the Church and secular authorities who sought to control its power. While this theory has been popularized in books, films, and documentaries, its origins lie in the medieval legends of the Grail, particularly those found in the Arthurian tales. The notion that the Templars discovered the Grail during their time in the Holy Land and subsequently hid it in a secret location is one of the most enduring conspiracy theories associated with the order. One of the most famous locations linked to the Grail and the Templars is Rennes-le-Château, a small village in southern France that has been the subject of intense speculation for over a century. In the late 19th century, a priest named Berenger Saunière undertook extensive renovations of the church in Rennes-le-Château and reportedly discovered a series of mysterious documents and inscriptions. These artifacts led some to believe that Saunière had uncovered hidden Templar treasure or knowledge, and that the village itself was a key location in the search for the Grail. Saunière's sudden wealth and his cryptic messages have fueled a range of theories that suggest Rennes-le-Château was the final resting place of the Grail, which the Templars had hidden away centuries before. In addition to the Grail, there is the theory that the Templars were in possession of lost religious texts that were excluded from the canonical Bible. These texts, often referred to as apocryphal or Gnostic scriptures, contain alternative accounts of early Christianity and may offer a radically different view of Christ's life, teachings, and the nature of God. Some theorists believe that the Templars' secret knowledge consisted of these texts, which could potentially challenge the legitimacy of the traditional Christian narrative. The most famous of these is the Gospel of Thomas, a text that presents a different understanding of Christ's message, one that emphasizes self-knowledge and the inner spiritual journey rather than traditional doctrines of salvation. The idea that the Templars were the keepers of these sacred texts, and that they passed them down through secret societies, forms the backbone of many modern conspiracy theories. The Templars' possible involvement in guarding these lost scriptures has been woven into a tapestry of legends, some of which claim that these texts hold the key to understanding the true nature of Christianity and, by extension, human history. If these theories are to be believed, the Templars were not just warrior monks defending the Christian faith. They were guardians of a truth that was too dangerous to reveal to the general public. Another component of the Templar legacy in modern conspiracy theories is their alleged connection to the establishment of secret government organizations. Some theorists suggest that the Templars' wealth and influence allowed them to infiltrate European royal courts, financial institutions, and even early democratic movements. The rise of the banking system in Europe, with institutions like the Medici Bank and the Bank of England, is sometimes linked to the Templars' expertise in financial matters. The Templars were pioneers of international banking in the medieval world, and a financial acumen made them indispensable to European monarchs. According to some conspiracy theorists, the Templars were involved in establishing secret financial networks that would later evolve into the modern banking system, with some even suggesting that they played a direct role in the founding of institutions like the Federal Reserve. The idea that the Templars' wealth and influence survived into the modern era has given rise to a host of conspiracy theories about their involvement in global politics and economics. Some believe that they continue to operate in the shadows, using their ancient wealth and connections to manipulate world events for their own ends. These theories often portray the Templars as an unseen hand, guiding the course of history from behind the scenes, pulling strings and orchestrating events to their advantage. One of the most enduring aspects of the Templar conspiracy narrative is the belief that the order was part of a larger, hidden network of power that spans centuries and cultures. Some theorists suggest that the Templars' legacy is not limited to their time in the Middle Ages, but that their influence stretches across the world, shaping major historical events, from the Renaissance to the rise of the United States. According to these theories, the Templars were instrumental in the creation of various secret societies, including the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, and the Illuminati, all of which are believed to have inherited the Templars' esoteric knowledge and have continued their work in secret. The belief that the Templars were part of a broader conspiracy that transcends national borders and historical eras taps into a deeper, more existential fear. The fear of powerful forces manipulating the course of history for their own gain. The Templars, in this context, are not merely a medieval military order. They are symbols of a hidden elite that controls the flow of knowledge, wealth, and power. This secretive, shadowy presence continues to fuel modern conspiracy theories that suggest the Templars, or those who inherited their legacy, are the true architects of global events. The Templar mythos is thus more than just a historical curiosity. It is a lens through which many people today view the world and its power structures. The idea of the Templars as secret keepers of ancient knowledge, hidden treasures, and world-shaping influence resonates with a modern desire for uncovering hidden truths and challenging the dominant narratives about history, religion, and power. Whether or not the Templars themselves still exist in some form is less important than the symbolism they represent. The quest for forbidden knowledge, the defiance of authority, and the endless search for the truth behind the mysteries of our past. The Knights Templar, once a medieval military and religious order, continue to cast a long shadow over modern culture. Despite their official dissolution in the early 14th century, the mystique surrounding the Templars has only grown in the centuries since. From novels and films to secret societies and conspiracy theories, the Templars have become central figures in the collective imagination of the modern world. Their enduring presence in pop culture speaks to an almost universal fascination with their enigmatic legacy, which blends history, mythology, and the pursuit of forbidden knowledge. In this section, we explore the many ways in which the Templars continue to influence and shape modern culture. One of the most prominent ways the Templars have entered modern consciousness is through literature and film. The Templars' connection to mystery, power, and secret knowledge makes them perfect subjects for stories that tap into the collective desire to explore the unknown. The idea that the Templars might have left behind hidden treasures, sacred relics like the Holy Grail, or powerful secrets has provided fertile ground for countless novels, many of which have become bestsellers. In particular, The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown is perhaps the most famous modern novel to feature the Templars. Released in 2003, it became a global phenomenon, propelling the Templars into the mainstream once again. The book's premise, that the Templars were the guardians of the Holy Grail and secret knowledge about the true nature of Christ, captured the imagination of millions and sparked widespread interest in the medieval order. The success of the Da Vinci Code was followed by a film adaptation, further cementing the Templars' place in modern pop culture. Brown's portrayal of the Templars as custodians of a hidden truth, one that could shake the foundations of Christianity, was not a new concept, but his book brought it into the spotlight. It presented the Templars not just as warriors, but as enlightened beings, protectors of knowledge that had been suppressed by the Church. This depiction is in line with a broader modern view of the Templars as a symbol of resistance to the established powers, especially when those powers are seen as corrupt or oppressive. This narrative of the Templars as rebels, guardians of ancient wisdom, and victims of persecution appeals to the modern desire for anti-establishment figures who stand for something greater than worldly power. Other works of fiction have continued to build on this narrative. The Templars appear as central figures in numerous thrillers, historical novels, and adventure stories. In films such as National Treasure and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the idea of hidden Templar treasure and sacred relics is used to drive the plot, blending history with adventure and mystery. These films, along with video games like Assassin's Creed, which features a secret war between the Templars and their rivals, the Assassins, have contributed to the continuing mystique of the Templar Order in the public consciousness. Beyond fiction, the Templar symbolism has also been co-opted by modern secret societies, occult groups, and organizations that claim to be the heirs to their legacy. One of the most well-known of these is the Freemasons, an international fraternal organization with deep roots in European history. The Freemasons share several symbols and rituals with the Templars, and many conspiracy theories suggest that the Templars passed on their secret knowledge to the Freemasons after their official disbandment. Some even claim that the Freemasons continue to operate as a covert arm of the Templar Order, preserving their esoteric teachings in secret. While there is little historical evidence to support such claims, the connection between the Templars and Freemasons remains a popular subject in both scholarly research and conspiracy theory circles. Another modern movement that claims a connection to the Templars is the so-called Templar Revival or Neo-Templar movement. This is a more recent phenomenon, with various groups and individuals claiming to be the modern heirs of the original Templar Order. These groups often emphasize the values of chivalry, Christian knightly virtues, and the protection of sacred knowledge. They often wear Templar-inspired regalia and adopt similar symbols, such as the Red Cross, as a means of signaling their connection to the ancient order. Some of these groups have even used Templar imagery to promote nationalist or political agendas, suggesting that the Templars' mission was not just religious but political as well. This modern-day appropriation of Templar symbols reflects the ongoing power of the Templar legacy to inspire and unite people around shared ideals, whether those ideals are spiritual, cultural, or political. In addition to literature, film, and secret societies, the Templars have also left a lasting mark on modern architecture and design. The Templar cross, one of the most recognizable symbols of the order, is frequently used in modern heraldry, logos, and corporate branding. This symbol, with its powerful and simple design, evokes the strength, discipline, and mystery associated with the Templars. It can be found on flags, emblems, and even commercial products, often serving as a shorthand for concepts like protection, honor, and tradition. The Templar cross has become so embedded in popular culture that it is instantly recognizable, even to those who may not be familiar with the full history of the order. The Templars' impact can also be seen in the realm of modern spirituality and esotericism. Many New Age and occult traditions draw upon the myths and symbols associated with the Templars, often portraying them as bearers of ancient wisdom or as guardians of sacred knowledge that transcends traditional religious boundaries. The Templars are frequently associated with themes like alchemy, sacred geometry, and astrology, and their secrets are sometimes said to be encoded in the architecture of the churches and castles they built across Europe. Some contemporary spiritual groups claim that the Templars were initiates of esoteric knowledge, and that their rituals and teachings contain keys to unlocking hidden spiritual truths. These ideas have contributed to the Templars' association with mystery schools, secret teachings, and the quest for enlightenment. The Templar legacy also persists in a modern fascination with lost treasures and archaeological mysteries. The idea that the Templars left behind treasure hoards, or that they hid valuable artifacts such as the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant continues to drive treasure hunters and historians. Some have claimed that Templar treasure is buried in various locations around the world, from the remote corners of Scotland to the depths of the Mediterranean Sea. These treasure hunts often mix historical research with speculation, folklore, and modern-day adventurism. The belief that the Templars may have hidden valuable relics in secret locations only adds to their mystique, fueling the imaginations of those who seek to uncover the lost secrets of the past. The Templars' continued presence in modern culture also speaks to a broader societal interest in revisiting and re-evaluating history. In a world where ancient texts and lost knowledge are increasingly accessible through the internet, the Templars represent a powerful symbol of the potential to uncover hidden truths from the past. The quest to understand the true story of the Templars is part of a larger cultural movement in which people are increasingly interested in esoteric knowledge, suppressed histories, and alternative narratives. The Templars, as a symbol of mystery and hidden knowledge, serve as a perfect focus for these cultural trends, drawing people into a world of intrigue, discovery, and the search for meaning beyond the mainstream narrative. In conclusion, the Knights Templar have had a profound and lasting impact on modern culture. Their story, steeped in mystery, drama, and controversy, continues to captivate the collective imagination. Through literature, film, secret societies, and spiritual movements, the Templars have become symbols of hidden knowledge, defiance against authority, and the search for truth. Whether as subjects of fiction, secretive groups, or a source of spiritual inspiration, the Templars' legacy continues to shape modern culture in ways that reflect our ongoing fascination with the past and the mysteries that still remain unsolved. In many ways, the Templars have transcended history, becoming cultural icons that represent a timeless quest for understanding and enlightenment. The Knights Templar are often remembered for their role in the Crusades, their mysterious downfall, and the conspiracy theories that continue to surround their name. However, one of the most significant and often overlooked aspects of their legacy is their pioneering influence on the development of modern banking and finance. Though they're most famous for their religious and military exploits, the Templars were also early innovators in financial systems, developing practices that laid the groundwork for modern banking institutions. At the height of their power in the 12th and 13th centuries, the Templars amassed immense wealth and operated a vast network across Europe and the Holy Land. Initially founded as a religious order to protect Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land, the Templars quickly grew into a wealthy and powerful institution. This wealth was not just the result of their military conquests and land holdings, but also their ability to establish a sophisticated financial system that was ahead of its time. One of the key factors that contributed to the Templars' financial success was their extensive network of properties and holdings across Europe and the Holy Land. As their order grew, so too did their economic influence. The Templars began to accumulate vast amounts of land, buildings, and resources throughout Europe, particularly in France, England, Spain, and Portugal. These assets were not only a source of wealth, but also served as collateral for the order's growing network of financial transactions. By the late 12th century, the Templars were operating in major cities across Europe, and they developed an efficient means of managing and distributing wealth across borders. One of the most important financial innovations pioneered by the Templars was their early form of banking. In the medieval period, traveling with large sums of money was risky due to the threat of robbery, piracy, and other dangers. The Templars offered a solution to this problem by creating a system that allowed pilgrims and merchants to deposit their funds at one Templar location and withdraw them at another, hundreds or even thousands of miles away. This system worked much like a modern bank transfer or check system, allowing individuals to safely move money across vast distances without the risk of losing it. The Templars' ability to provide this service was revolutionary for the time, and it helped establish them as a key player in medieval European commerce. In essence, the Templars created the first international banking system, offering a secure method for transferring money across long distances. This was an essential service, particularly for pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem, who could now travel with a kind of letter of credit from the Templars. The letter of credit allowed the bearer to access their funds at any Templar-controlled location along the route, giving rise to an early form of what we would today call banking institutions. This system was widely used by royalty, nobles, and wealthy merchants who could afford to deposit large sums of money with the Templars, knowing they could access it at any of the order's far-flung branches. The Templars also developed sophisticated financial instruments that laid the foundation for the modern banking system. For example, they created an early form of promissory notes, essentially IOUs, that could be exchanged for money. These notes could be transferred from one party to another, creating a primitive system of negotiable instruments. The ability to issue promissory notes meant that the Templars were not just a repository for wealth, but also a facilitator of credit and trade, enabling commerce to flourish throughout Europe. By allowing for the exchange of money and goods across borders, the Templars helped to create the foundations of modern trade and commerce, which would go on to shape the development of global capitalism. The Templars' financial acumen was recognized by many monarchs, who relied on the order for both military support and financial services. In fact, the Templars were deeply embedded in the political and economic systems of many European courts.